Hello and welcome to the Ellen Made Book Club. This video is going to be all about women in translation. I was inspired by Angelia at Read and Reread. She made a video about women in translation and books that she had read and that she was interested in, and it was just a great video, and I will link it below in the description. And I just felt inspired to do something similar. So that's what I'm gonna do. I have picked out a bunch of books by women that have been translated, that I have read and loved, books that I have on my shelf or that I'm interested in, that are on my radar, and then some books that I might want to read in August, which is apparently like translation month, or like women in translation month. I don't know, there are so many months. I feel like they're mostly American, but that's fine by me, and I'm happy to participate and celebrate women in translation. So starting off with my recommendations, let's just get this one out of the way because I have already mentioned it so many times on my channel, because it was one of my favorites from last year, and that is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. She was a Belgian author, and this is translated from the French by Ross Schwartz. And yeah, I just love this book so much. It was such an experience reading it. Not a lot happens, but also a lot happens, and I just loved the atmosphere and the writing and the scenario and like the thought-provokingness of it all. I think that it's a very interesting thought experiment, and I don't have to read a book like this as like the right answer, like this is what would have happened, or like this is how someone would have behaved or reacted or functioned or whatever. I just think it's a very interesting idea and an interesting exploration of that idea. And yeah, I just loved the vibes of it all. I was just consumed by it and couldn't put it down. And it's a very short book, so it was quite a quick read, and it still managed to have a great emotional impact on me. And so yeah, I recommend this one very highly. And it's about 40 women who are trapped in a cage underground without knowing why they're there or how they got there. And we are mostly focusing on the youngest one of them, who has no memory of anything else. Like, she has grown up in this cage, and she has never known men. And yeah, she seems to hold the key to getting out of this cage, possibly. And yeah, we just follow the journey. The next one I want to recommend is a more recent read. I read this in June and I loved it, and that is The Queens of Sarmiento Park by Camila Sosa Villada. And this was translated from the Spanish by Kit Maude, or Kit Maud. The original title is Las Malas, and the English, or like an alternate English title, is Bad Girls. In this book, we're following a group of transgender sex workers in Cordoba in Argentina, and they find a baby, an abandoned baby in the bushes, and they decide to take care of it, or in particular one woman decides to take care of it. And yeah, we just follow them in their daily life throughout the years, and we also get sort of flashbacks, or like the backstory of the main character, Camila, who has the same name as the author. And so I don't know to what extent this is autobiographical. I'm assuming a bit, but I don't know. There's also a bit of magical realism in this, so it's not entirely a true story, but you know, just having the main character have the same name as the author just gives that vibe. I thought that this was beautifully written. I thought it was funny, heartbreaking, brutal, heartwarming. There's a lot of beautiful relationships, and also it's very honest. Like, it just feels very raw and authentic, and like both in terms of the experience of transgender sex workers, but also in terms of like friendship and relationships and hopes and dreams and hurt feelings and, you know, all of the things that come with being a human. And yeah, I just thought it was wonderful. It's also quite a short book, and that worked very well for me this summer, even though I know it's big book summer, but never mind. I would highly recommend this one. Another book from South America, which isn't technically translated, but I would say that it's a woman in translation, and that is We Will Be Jaguars by Nemonte Nenquimo, which is a nonfiction about Nemonte and her life story as an indigenous woman in Ecuador, and her fight against the big oil companies in the region who are damaging the Amazon and like the rainforest and the environment for everyone living there, including indigenous peoples and animals and all of the bad things that come from that. And the book is written in English, but from what I can understand, Nemonte herself doesn't speak English. She speaks Spanish and her own native language. So the book is written or like co-written by her husband or like partner, Mitch Anderson. And so it is translated, like her own words are translated, but the book itself is not translated, if that makes sense. Like it's originally written in English, but it's, you know, not written in English by her. So, you know, erring on the side of inclusion, that is one that I would recommend as well. I thought it was a very powerful book and a very informative book, and I felt like I had some insight into it already, but I still feel like I got a lot out of reading the book, and it's a very, you know, emotionally impactful story, and it's a lot different to read something that is from her own words and like from her own personal story, not just the fight against big oil companies, but also like the dynamics within the family and within the different native groups. My point is just, if you think that you already know the gist of that, it's still very much a worthwhile read and a very enjoyable read and a very infuriating read. It's very frustrating to read about what people have done in the name of greed and religion and just, you know, colonialist mindset and all of that. Yeah, it's not an easy read, but it's very good. And then I also have to include Astrid Lindgren, Ronja the Robber's Daughter, and the brothers Lionheart, which is not books that I have read in translation because they are written in Swedish, which is my native tongue. But if you were to read these in English or any other language than Swedish, they would be in translation because Astrid Lindgren's books have been translated into a lot of different languages, and they are very good. They are sort of middle grade young adult books, and I love them, so I have to include them. So moving on to some books that I haven't read but that I have on my shelves. I do have a few that I probably won't be reading like this August or, you know, anytime soon, because there are just so many other books that I want to prioritize, but I want to mention these anyways. The first one is The Elegance of the Hedgehog by Muriel Barbary, and this one is translated from the French by Alison Anderson, and this one comes highly recommended by Kat at Curious Cat. I have seen this so many times in the charity shops and like thrift store, and I finally decided to pick it up on her recommendation. So this is one that I have on my shelves. I have no idea what it's about. I just know that there's a hedgehog in the title and that the story does not revolve around a hedgehog. And that Kat liked it. That's pretty much all I know. Another book that I found in the thrift store and that is also translated from the French is this one, which is a Swedish edition of The Braid, I think it's called in English, by Letizia Colombani. This one is sort of weaving together the lives of 3 women in India, Italy, and Canada. And I thought that sounded like something I might enjoy. And it's also a very short little book, and it's also so pretty. It has the gold foiling and the pretty picture and the water and the architecture and all of that. And I just thought it was shouting my name in the thrift store. So that's one that I have as well. And then I also have, and this is one that I am a little bit interested to pick up sooner than later, which is Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. I have decided, or like come to the conclusion that the, what's it called? The quartet, the My Brilliant Friend quartet might not be something that I am very interested to read anytime soon, maybe in the future. But I would like to try Elena Ferrante, and this one is short, and it's about a woman who is abandoned by her partner. So she's alone with her kids. I just heard this title mentioned so many times that I would like to read it. And again, it's short, so it's like a lot easier to try than like a quartet. Another book that I have had on my radar forever, basically, but I have never read, that I also now have on my shelf is this one, and this doesn't tell you a lot, but this is The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, or Anne Frank's Diary as it's called in Swedish. This was translated from the Dutch, and this is a Swedish translation again, so you know, I'm sure there are plenty. This one was translated to Swedish by Ella Wilke. And I found this copy recently in my childhood home, and it is gifted by my grandparents to my mother, Christmas 1961. So yeah, that just made it a bit more special, and I have been wanting to read this forever, but I've never really wanted to pick it up, if that makes sense. Like, this is a book that I want to have read rather than actually go through the experience of reading it, because I think that it's going to have a very big emotional impact and not necessarily a positive one. And so yeah, I'm a bit hesitant to pick this up, but this copy definitely makes it more likely that I will at some point. And then I have a few other books that I don't have physical copies of that I am interested to read, and the first one is The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa, which is translated from the Japanese, and it's a sci-fi or like dystopian novel from what I understand, and there's like the memory, like the collective memory of certain things disappear, like people don't know what birds are anymore, or like stuff like that, and that somehow has obviously an impact on society, I'm assuming. So yeah, that's one that I am interested to read. I know it's got like mixed reviews and it's not for everyone, but I'm still curious to try it. And I would also like to try The Door by Magda Sabo, which I don't know what it's about. I think it's one of those where there's like a house, it's like a domestic setting, and they have someone working there, a woman working there, I think. And then there's something. Yeah, I need to look that up, but I have read that synopsis so many times, and I just know that it's a book that I want to try. So maybe I'll just like put in something in writing here what it's about, or you can look it up yourself. That is translated from Hungarian, and yeah, it's the book that I'm interested in. I'm also interested in A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos, which is also translated from the French, and that one is also highly recommended by Kat at Curious Cat. It's the first part of a series, which I think is 4 parts, a fantasy series where I think it's called the Mirror Visitor series. And so I think the mirrors work as kind of portals, and you can travel from one mirror to another, something like that. And it sounds very good, and it's highly recommended by Kat. So I'm very interested to try that one. And then also Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro. There's been a Pinheiro project by a number of booktubers, like this past winter, spring, where they read all of the books by Claudia Pinheiro that have been translated into English. So I know that Angelia at Read and Reread, who inspired this video, was a part of that group, and also Pat at Book Chat with Pat, and Mariandrea at Books and Bocadillos, and a bunch of other people. And yeah, they all seem to really enjoy it. And I think that that book is the one that I'm most intrigued about. I think that's the one about a mother who knows that things are not as the police tell her. I think maybe she's told that the child took their own life, and she doesn't believe that, and she's on this journey to find out the truth, and that sounds very good to me. And I think that Pinheiro writes thrillers with a lot of like social commentary and a lot of emotional depth, and that sounds like something I would enjoy. And then I have 3 books that I have bought recently that I am probably the most likely to pick up the soonest, like in August. And the first one is The Wall by Marlene Haushofer, which is translated from the German. She is an Austrian author, or was, and this is translated by Sean Whiteside. And this is about a woman who goes to visit some friends, I think. She takes a holiday in the Austrian mountains, spending a few days with her cousin and his wife in their hunting lodge. When the couple fails to return from a walk, the woman sets off to look for them. But then as she walks outside, there's no other people there, and she is sort of enclosed by this wall that she can't get through. So she has to survive within this area that she is confined to. Very sort of dystopian, and it feels similar to I Who Have Never Known Men. And yeah, it's just another classic that I am very interested to read. And that would also go for the Classic 6 challenge that Suey at Suey's Book Banter is hosting this year, where you're supposed to read 6 classics throughout the year. So yeah, this one would, you know, check 2 boxes, which is good. And then I also have Diary of a Void by Emi Yagi, which is translated from the Korean by David Boyd and Lucy North. And this is about a woman, and she is going to pull off the mother of all deceptions. And so I think it has to do with work life as a woman and pregnancy and motherhood, and there's a sort of deception within that. And yeah, I'm very intrigued. I think the cover is beautiful. It's not very long. It's translated. I'm very curious, and I hope to get to this very soon, if not in August. And then lastly, I have The Old Woman with the Knife. I don't know why I can never get that title right. This is by Gu Byung Mo and translated by Ji Young Kim from the Korean. Did I say this was from the Korean? This is Japanese. This is from the Diary of a Void is from the Japanese. So anyways, this one is Korean. The Old Woman with a Knife is about an old woman who used to be a contract killer. She works for the disease control company, and she is wanting to retire, but then there's a young male upstart, and yeah, there's new desires and urges, and she needs to show this young upcoming rival how to do things. I don't know. I think it sounds very funny and interesting, and something that I have not read anything like before. And yeah, I think it sounds very good. So this is one that I hope to get to in August. I think those are all of the books that I wanted to mention in this video. Let me know if there were any books that you are now interested to read, or if you're going to read something else for Women in Translation Month in August, or in any other month whenever you're watching this. You know, we're not confined to just 1 month to read Women in Translation, so yeah, whenever. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.